One of the things about most businesses here in Southern California is that to the client or the customer from the outside, they can all look the same. The industry can basically look homogeneous. But in fact, if you really take a look at many of the industries that operate here very successfully, you find out there's all kinds of specialties and niches that people build entire businesses out of. Auto industry is a great example. All the different types of cars and things like that create niches for specific, people who want specific things. Lawyers, physicians, they're all, they have different practices. They specialize in different things according to what their clientele wants. One of the industries that I think a lot of times gets lumped in more as an industry where everybody basically does the same is real estate. But in fact, there's a whole bunch of different niches and specialties in real estate that might make you knowing what those are more advantageous for the kind of home transaction you're trying to get through. And today we're going to talk to someone who has a few specialties that I thought would be a great example of what some realtors choose to do in order to separate themselves from the rest of the industry. And we're going to introduce her in a moment. You're watching Open for Business. This is the Thursday edition. I'm Steve Smith, your host, and we are brought to you every single day by the Lake Forest Chamber of Commerce. And so today, the guest that we have on, her name is Danielle Smith, and she is a Coldwell Banker residential realtor. She graduated from Chapman University, and since 2013 has been a realtor here in Southern California, Southern Orange County. She's also part of the San Juan Chamber of Commerce as a board member, and she serves as an ambassador for Coldwell Banker Realty at the San Clemente and Dana Point Chambers of Commerce. So we're going to bring her on and get a little of her story and then find out how she approaches real estate. Good afternoon, Danielle.
Hello, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for being on with us today.
Thanks for having me. I've been watching the last couple months, so I'm excited for this.
Good. Isn't it different when you're sitting back watching other people and then all of a sudden you're the subject of everybody else's?
Oh, yes. Completely different.
Listen, I served you up today as someone who has a specialty within a very broad industry here in Southern California in real estate. And so what I'd like to do is start off by tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate, and probably equally as much how you got involved with all of the chambers that you have, various positions and responsibilities with.
Sure. So how I got involved, was probably, I'm going to say, beyond 10 years ago. We'll leave that number out there. But I started in the real estate auction world. So I had my taste in, say, 2007 with all the foreclosures that were going on. I worked for a large auction firm.
Oh, wow.
And yes, in Irvine. So that was my start. And then I transferred into a luxury auction firm that was worldwide. And they specialized in non-foreclosures, just another way to sell a property via the auction process. Say Sotheby's sells high-end art to high-end individuals. This is high-end. That was high-end properties being sold to high-end individuals.
All right. So for anybody that may not have known about the auction side of real estate, very quickly, can you explain what that looks like?
Sure. Okay. So quite different from foreclosures to non-foreclosures, but in general, when they were foreclosed, the banks would provide the auction firm that I worked with the properties to auction them. So at that time, they would go to auction being live or online, and the bidder would have to bid on the property. Most likely it was what was owed on the property, give or take, what the bank needed to move forward. And they would have to come and provide their funds and bid, and the highest bid won the property. Is typically sight unseen. You could drive by the properties, but you couldn't go inside.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was actually, it was overall a good thing for the fact the properties, unfortunately, were already no longer with the individuals that owned them. They were with the banks.
Right.
And the company I worked for was facilitating the auction to put people back into these properties.
Good.
So that was at the height, 2007 to 2010. I still help clients with auction properties these days, and different types of properties are being sold, county court steps or online process. So I advise them on what I feel the process is and it's usually, straight across the board the same.
Right.
Yeah. Buyer's premiums, things like that. So.
Okay. So I know you now under Coldwell Banker have kind of 3 focuses or specialty areas that you like to work in. Why don't you tell us a little about each of those?
Sure. I found myself in the last year or so focusing a lot more with first-time home buyers, and then there was relocation
Mm-hmm.
and investors. And with the first-time home buyers, a side fact for you guys: if you become another first-time home buyer if you haven't owned a property or real estate in 3 years. So
Okay.
that's pretty, people think, oh, I've already bought a house. Well, no, how long ago? 4 years ago. You've been renting since then. You are now a first-time home buyer again.
Okay.
So there's incentives out there for people, and I think that's great. So the first-time home buyers, it's a daunting process to purchase a property. There's a lot of paperwork in California. Agents are schooled in this in learning how to do the paperwork, and therefore they have to teach clients how to do the paperwork.
Okay.
It is a boiler point, usually paperwork, usually the same, but that's a lot of things that first-time home buyers come into it and don't realize how much has to be done, signed, sealed, and delivered. So I walk them through that process, doing a first-time home buyer meet and greet, either, I used to be at the offices or at Starbucks, sometimes now through Zoom calls, and just ask them the general questions so they realize, if it's a husband and wife or 2 individuals buying property, are you on the same boat of what you actually want to purchase? Because that can mean a lot. And then there's inspections that have to be done. We advise them on that. So it's a lot of work, but it's fulfilling at the end for the clients if they're knowledgeable and they know what they're doing. So.
And I know there's a little more paperwork that's been added to just the process of looking for a house too, right?
Oh, goodness gracious, yes. So, yeah, all since our pandemic or COVID, when we became middle of March, when we were set on the lockdown, and then we became essential shortly after, there are the particular forms that need to be signed for anyone, be it an inspector, vendor, appraiser, an agent, a client coming in to look at the property. They need to fill out forms to protect everyone. So those are, very simple to fill out, a little wordy, but they're good. They're to the point, and they're in place, and they'll probably be in place for a long time.
Now, if somebody fills all this out, do you keep a copy of this for every home, or do they have to fill it out each time they go look at a home?
Each time.
Ooh.
So in particular, I have, first-time home buyers that we're closing on a property next week. Well, this weekend, we have our final walkthrough. They've been to the property 3 times. Each time they have to fill out a form. Yeah, because in particular it says, have you been exposed?
Right.
Have you been in contact?
Each time you show up, it could be different, right?
Exactly. So it's saving. So yes, so that form, and most of my buyers right now, all my buyers I should say right now, are used to it. They're like, where's the form? And yeah. Either it be like 123 Main Street or 256 Main Street, whatever. Right. It has to be, each one has to be filled out. So.
All right. So what about the other 2 areas that you dabble in with your real estate practice?
Oh yeah. So I've had the honor to do a lot of relocations. And relocation basically means, hey, is someone coming from the East Coast, Hawaii, international, and wants to live here and specialize in South Orange County? That's where I am. As you know, south of the Y, if you live in this area, it's where the 405 and the 5 meet. Right. I specialize more in that area. So through my brokerage, we have different kinds of relocation, be it corporate relocation, be it broker to broker, or some referral system that comes through. So I've been happy enough to be a part of that system. It's been fulfilling. And those people, they're moving because usually it's a corporate move. They're moving their family up. They don't know the area. They just know their job's telling them they have to go there. And I did that.
I can tell you in my former career, 4 of my moves were with relocation companies, and that those are the folks that brought us out here to California. And I got to tell you, we would have never been able to figure out the real estate market out here without someone like that also understood where we came from and what resources we were working with. So it was a totally valuable service.
Thank you. I appreciate you hearing that, because it's also the company and the relocation company makes us agents accountable for everything. So as a client, yeah, we are working for you, but we are also answering to that relocation company because they want to make sure you as a client are being taken care of. So it's, A+ service all the way. If not, then we hear about it and we make sure that you're taken care of. But I had clients from the Midwest, and his job relocated him out here. Hadn't been there. I guess they vacationed because his office is in San Clemente. So therefore, he went ahead and he got a hold of me through the system, and they needed a property. So I went to several properties, and they actually looked online because I didn't know what they wanted. So we had to, figure out what they wanted. I sent them some items. I like to get to know what you like. So I would go to these properties and FaceTime them, walk them through it,
Nice.
Yeah. And it's hard. They don't know.
We didn't have that service when we were doing it.
You didn't. No.
A little early.
So, yeah. So that's why it helps having a local agent that knows the area, that's grown up in the area, that's, and involves himself in the community to tell you what the community is all about, to share with you different resources to go to find out if that's an area for you. So that's a true success. They love their place. If they plan to stay, well, they have to stay for at least 3 years. So they love their place. And also, if they decide to move back to the Midwest, they can utilize my services as well.
Oh,
and they can utilize relocation, because relocation actually gives them a little bit of incentives in their moving. So that's also another great avenue why people go through relocation, because they'll get incentives here and there. And that's, again, it's a corporate broker to broker, but also military.
So what are some of the frequent maybe misconceptions or things people are surprised about when they relocate out here to Southern California?
Well, they all know it's expensive when they're coming from somewhere else. When they come out here, I say misconceptions, but they all know it's expensive. They all want to be usually by the ocean, and they realize they can't.
Okay.
Because of the price wise. So we just step back a little bit farther inland, and they get used to it. They love the sunshine. I hear it all the time: ocean, sunshine, California. Just those three things people are intrigued of. Traffic. A lot of people aren't used to it. Right now, we don't have as much as we're used to in the past. But as far as things to do, you can go anywhere. I mean, and where we live, particularly, you can be in the desert, the ocean, or Pacific Ocean, the mountains within less than same day, literally same day. Go skiing in the mountain, and then Sunset Beach.
Well, our biggest surprise when we moved out here, we came from the East Coast, but in looking at some of the newer developments, we were blown away by how close the houses were to each other for the size of the house. So you basically got either a postage stamp size lot, or what do they call these, zero lot line kind of setups. But yeah, that we had to get used to that, because where we came from, everybody had an acre of ground under them.
You were right there. And the scenario I said for the Midwest people, they actually moved to Rancho Mission Viejo, which is the new planned community. And people love that, but they don't love that they don't have much of a backyard.
Right.
So in their case, got them an end unit that had a view of the mountains. So that was good.
All right. So you specialize in helping first-time buyers find their dream home, and you deal with folks that are relocating in and out of Southern California. What was the third one?
So recently, and more or less, it's investors. And I don't know if it's also because of my auction background, because properties were sold at auction and they're sight unseen and they're good deals. And mind you, a lot of investors with cash will purchase the auction properties.
Okay.
So I've had a lot of calls lately, and we hear it so much. It's not just me, but I want a fixer, a dump, worse the better. And I was like, okay. They're like, because they want a good deal, the worst house in the best neighborhood, and they want to make it even better and then resell it.
Right.
So I've had a lot of investors. I have a good girlfriend from high school that called me out of the blue and said, Danielle, I've been wanting to work with you for a long time, and I think I've got some job for you." And I was like, "What is it?" She's like, "Find me an investment property." So, so,
Interesting.
and a lot of investors don't want properties that are on the market or want properties that are been on the market for a long time, because that's when they're going to get their best deal.
Okay.
So my job, and I do this for first time home buyers, I do this for relocation, all my clients. I will call and I will find off market properties that haven't hit the market or coming soon, and try and see if we can make deals happen like that. I've had 3 in this last year, so I feel like I've got a little bit of a niche on there. I won't be able to find them all, but I will be able to find some.
So
And investors.
how big is that market, that kind of under the surface, where
Oh,
and because that's not most people don't know that, and maybe multiple listings don't carry those. But what size of market are we really talking about?
a small size, because we want it. You do want it to hit the market if you can, if you're a seller, so you can get a higher price usually.
Hmm.
I'm not sure on the statistic wise. I mean, my own self would say 20-25% or so, because and maybe even slightly less, because they're so far and few between. And if you're a seller, a lot of times your agent would say, "Okay, well, let's put it on the market and try and get the property multiple offers because it's such a good deal."
Mm,
Or you get that client that says, "I don't want people coming through my house when we had that. I don't want COVID. I want to try and sell it prior." And then the job of that agent is to try and find someone to do it per their seller's direction. No protocol, and the ideal thing is to get the property ready, put it on the market so everyone has the chance to get it. But a lot of times you do have off market properties, and you have to, your sellers
right.
address that and want you to do that.
Well, with real estate just generally being so high out here, I mean, do people really make any good money if they buy something that's, trashed and old, and then they go in there and try to gut it, and they upgrade it and make it more contemporary and appealing. But, there's cost involved in that too. So for the people that you've worked with in the past, because, I've worked with, I mean, I know a couple of folks that do that as a sideline, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of money that they're making out of that. There's a lot of work involved, but it
Hmm.
doesn't appear to be, a great way to improve your wealth. So what's your perception from that?
Yes. So anything along the coast is going to be expensive. You can get $1 million fixer if you
Wow.
want to. It's ridiculous, and I've seen them. I have a client that bought a $3 million fixer in Laguna Beach, and that was on the cliff.
Wow.
And yes, if it was all redone and completely done, it would be maybe 7, 8. So there is a good deal there if
Right.
they're just sitting on it and getting it done. So there is opportunities. Now, when people say fixer, it has to be the margins between buying the property. You buy a property for 500,000. Maybe put 100,000 into it and sell it for north of 7 if you don't want to make too much. But you got to put in commissions and stuff like that.
Right.
So investors are savvy. They have their numbers they want. Yeah, we find a lot of properties. It's just more inland is probably where you're going to find a little bit of your better deal. Along the coast, it's going to be expensive, and not everyone can afford that expensive fixer
Now,
and do work.
have you ever worked with anybody who either was an investor, or maybe they were going to occupy the home, but they were looking for property where they could go in and just do a complete tear down and rebuild?
Not a complete tear down. I do have an investor that I work with and try and find some things for him, and he is a contractor and will do that himself. I actually met him because I brought the buyer to a couple of his flips, as the investor would call it, fix and flip, so to speak. But I haven't had a complete tear down done in my presence yet.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I was just wondering, with all the tax laws and other things that govern, Southern or California in general,
Mhm.
if you were going to do something like that, what risk do you run by tearing a property all the way to the ground and rebuilding something new? Does that mean, you forego any kind of tax incentives or other things by doing that? Or do you
Mhm.
have to leave part of the house there and just call it a massive upgrade?
There you go. That's a lot. Leave a wall, just gut it. do stuff like that. And that's why you don't see a lot of tear downs these days, in my opinion,
Okay.
because there's a lot more, specific cities are different. Laguna Beach is very tough, but beautiful to live in. Exactly. But, San Clemente, Capo Beach, just ask your city, ask your agent. Usually the city will be able to tell you, if you do this, then it's a renovation. If you do a remodel, if you do this, you're going to have a lot more hoops and bounds to go through.
Okay.
So.
All right. So with a few minutes we have left, tell us a little bit about what's involved. I know you're an ambassador for your real estate company with the San Clemente and the Dana Point Chambers. What does that involve?
Sure. So usually companies will have a representative. Not always. There's a few for San Clemente and Dana Point Chambers. They just have a few ambassadors. It's basically to go and to talk about the opportunities to be a part of a chamber. Things going around, show up at their events and network and talk and just get the word out. Be that positive individual that is going to spread business and commerce and build it within the city and beyond. San Clemente, beautiful, beautiful town.
It really is.
Yeah. Went to high school there. I know it when it was absolutely nothing. It was a small, quiet beach town. And then Dana Point, with all the renovations going on in that harbor, it's just the business, the commerce, the networking. That's what an ambassador does. They're there to help the chamber, as a volunteer, to get the word out and to grow themselves. So as Coldwell Banker Realty, our office is located in Capo Beach, which services San Juan, San Clemente, Dana Point. But then we'll have our Mission Viejo office, and we have that services, the Lake Forest. We all service everywhere, but we have them all over. I am the ambassador for just San Clemente, Dana Point.
And given the fact that person-to-person networking has pretty much been decimated in view of a lot of Zoom types of meetings, do you think you're able to get your ambassador duties, or that kind of telling everybody about chamber, about being a part of a chamber? I mean, how much has that curtailed your ability to do that?
It's curbed it a lot, but I am also on the vice chair for the Chamber of Commerce for San Juan Capistrano. So what I do is I promote through my social media all the events. I have my Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and I try and do that. Like, this is happening, this is going on. Join us here. But join us here means virtual. Join us virtually here to do this. So I try and do a lot of every week or so, do a lot of business promotion. Not my own business. I love my business. I will promote it for a long time.
Right.
But I support other businesses because that's what keeps us going. So yes, I just have to change it up a little bit. We are getting we used to do ribbon cuttings all the time for brand new businesses, right? And
we used to do a lot of those too.
Yeah, we are gradually coming back to that with all the social distance, and we just want to comply with all the rules, just so it's to the button, so to speak. So it's gradually coming back, but as far as when we had our large networking events, it isn't. But I will tell you, all those three chambers, and even Lake Forest, and all the other ones, Laguna Niguel around here, they are doing so much for their businesses as much as they can.
Right.
That's what you're doing right now.
Oh yeah, this whole thing was born out of COVID, and we had no idea where it was going to go.
Exactly, and it's been such a success, and I love seeing it. So I think that the opportunities are there to grow it. I mean, yeah, we miss having that face-to-face lunch and learns, evening gatherings. Hey, Bob, what are you doing? Let's go here, but I think this is a great alternative.
Well, the nice thing about our virtual lunch and learns is you can eat what you want. You don't have to worry about somebody's overcooked rubber chicken or, those kind of things. So
true.
Okay. So finally, just talk to us a little bit about your learning curve as we've gone through this whole thing, which has affected everybody's way of life, in multiple ways. Mm-hmm. What have you learned about real estate buying and selling under these kinds of conditions?
What I've learned is you have to adapt. You don't always have to physically see a property in order to make the deal happen, you need to be on the phone. You need to constantly be engaged because you physically can't be talking or engaged in seeing people all the time.
Right. Yes.
It has made my business, I've taken another look at my business, and the fact is, I constantly did open houses. I constantly was meeting people. I can't do that anymore. So I've gone a lot more to the virtual world, which we will continue to do. And I think it strengthened me as a person. A lot more people are looking online for homes than they were, beginning of the year.
Right.
So I need to be more present. I need to take my leads that come through and treat them as I would my current physical buyers that are in here. So, I've learned to take that virtual online lead role to a higher platform in my business to generate more business.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Danielle, this has been wonderful. Thanks for being on with us today and getting into aspects of real estate that many people may not have done before. So, you tend to think most everybody just goes out and starts looking through a neighborhood and makes a decision. And you're obviously dealing with some very specific clientele who've got special needs. So thank you for sharing that with us and kind of taking us through that process.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Well, listen, folks, you've been listening to Danielle Smith with Coldwell Banker Realty, and we hope that if you like what you heard, that you'll reach out to her with any of your real estate needs, whether you're looking to buy or you're looking to invest. She can handle both sides of that coin. That concludes our broadcast today. You've been watching Open for Business. My name is Steve Smith. Tomorrow we are back with one more guest and some surprise announcements that you won't want to miss, because it is going to shape and change what you see as we go forward starting August next week. Thanks for being with us. Have a great rest of your day. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care.